Welcome back, everybody. I'm bored. COVID made me bored, and today I am playing Maximum Apocalypse by Rock Manor Games. This is a fully cooperative game for 1 to 6 players, which is something different. I typically have a lot of games that are 1 to 4, and this game is sort of an adventure, maybe dungeon crawler-like game. It is set in a sort of post-apocalyptic world where there are either zombies or mutants or robots or I don't know, who knows what else, aliens that sort of set that post-apocalyptic landscape. And in this game, you are exploring to survive. The world's already over. Unlike some of the other board games I have where you're trying to stop the world from becoming a landscape of nothing. In this game, it's already nothing, and your job is to survive it. So the premise of the game is pretty straightforward. You will be, I think there are maybe a handful of different scenarios, and they all have a very similar aspect, which is you are going to various locations represented by tiles, and you'll be scavenging. You'll be looking for resources or for something to help you survive this landscape. You're just regular Joes. You're not anything special. You're not like super soldiers or any specific training to deal with the threats. You are just a character with some kind of backstory. In this situation, I have the fireman and a hunter. Nothing fancy, and you're using the tools that you have to survive and gather the resources that you need. So this game I purchased retail, and I'm just gonna make a comment right now. I'm missing some components from this retail game. It was brand new, and I bought it online from a local game store. And when it arrived, I was missing a handful of cards. Scavenge cards. I was missing a character card, not a main character card. It was the scientist I was missing, and everything else was fine. I got all the tokens. I've got all the character cards that I need, and I have all the tiles. Thank goodness. But I was missing some fuel cards, and as well as I think the ambush cards. And so I emailed Rock Manor Games, and I never heard back. I was actually pretty disappointed. They didn't even bother. I think on their website, they mostly support people who were backers. This originally started as a Kickstarter, and their priority seems to be assisting Kickstarter backers. And people like me who bought from retail, you're kind of on your own. And I had filled out the form, and I had even said, I think there was a charge for shipping, which was absurd. It's like $30 just to ship maybe 10 cards that I'm missing. So I emailed them asking if it's something that they can just send through letter mail. Like, it doesn't really have to be packaged in any particular box. I'm only missing 10 cards. So and I actually never heard anything back, which is even more disappointing. So, Rock Manor Games, shame on you. You should at least, I purchased this game, and hopefully, this might inspire someone to pick it up too if they like the gameplay. And if anything, I do like the game, but I'm not too happy with the lack of support from the publisher on this. So anyways, moving on. So your goal is to survive, scavenge, look for items, rinse and repeat. It might sound a little dull, but every experience can be different because the map layout can never be the same twice. So there is a lot of randomness that can happen. The one thing I'll comment is it does take a bit of time to set up for the type of game that it is. It does take a bit of time to set up. You need to find the right scavenge cards. You need to find the right tiles that you need to lay out your map, and then get that all set up. So 10-15 minutes, no problem. Put it together. When you're packing things away and you keep things organized, it's a little easier to set up your next gameplay. So there you go. That's the front cover of Maximum Apocalypse. I believe there was a legendary copy which has miniatures. This one does not have miniatures. It has standees, which is fine. Again, for this type of game, I'm not really keen on having miniatures on this sort of play field. So we'll be playing, or I'll be playing, the tutorial mission just to sort of go through it. Like most of my other videos, I'm not going to go through every single rule. I just sort of explain the important pieces as I go along. You'll be choosing a mission, and in this mission, it's very straightforward. You are trying to gather fuel. You've got a van on this side, and typically when you're setting up the map, you'll be drawing tiles. You can place it in any layout that you want. The more gaps between the tiles, the harder the game would be. So if this was a perfect square and I had this here and this here, this would actually make it a little bit easier because movement is orthogonal, not diagonal, but because they're close together, you're able to get to the spots that you need more quicker. So, but for me, I wanted to sort of create a moderate challenge and just sort of spread it out a bit more. So in terms of the tutorial, the sort of backstory is the sirens were only a warning we had before everything went to hell. We were lucky enough to be close to a shopping mall and barricaded ourselves in. But now our food is gone and help isn't coming. We have to figure out what happened out there. Your objective is to find 4 fuel cans and make your way to the van that you can see off in the distance from the rooftop of the shopping mall. When everyone has successfully made it to the van and you have enough gas, you can hightail it out of there. So if there's a setup, usually all the scenarios have a specific setup, including what boss you may or may not need, what type of, I guess, enemies you'll be facing. In this case, we'll be facing zombies, and it's sort of outlined in this tiny, tiny little marker down there, which is Z. And they'll be set up on what tiles you need and what scavenging cards you need. So I'm just going to go through that in a minute. At the top here, it'll tell you, typically, in addition to any objectives you have to do, like things that you might have to gather, you also need a certain number of fuel for your car. Your van is your getaway. And for most missions, you are basically scavenging and then hightailing it in your van to get out of there as quickly as possible. On the back of the scenario card, it'll tell you the map tiles that you need. Because this is a tutorial, it actually gives a suggested layout, and you'll notice that my layout is not the same. And that's the one neat thing about this game is it's completely up to you. You choose the tiles that you need, shuffle them face down, and lay them out however you want. And like I said, the more gaps in between the tiles, the harder it is. And it'll tell you all the tiles that you need, and also it's giving you sort of directions on where your start tile will be and where your van will be. Typically when you're setting up, you won't have, in other scenarios, you will not have this particular map layout, but the van is always your endpoint, usually because you're trying to get out of there, and it's always on the perimeter of however you lay your map. So you would never have the van in here because obviously it doesn't make sense. So, and on top of that, you will have your scavenge decks, and this is the items that you have as you are going from location to location. You'll have an opportunity to do a scavenge, basically look for something. Now, my initial playthrough, I actually wasn't doing it correctly. I was only scavenging once per location, but as I understand the rules, you can actually scavenge multiple times per location, provided that you have actions to do it. So, there are different types. There's red, green, and blue, and you'll see that the scavenge decks are out here. Typically, the color means that in that deck, you have primarily or a more abundance of fuel. So compared to the green and blue, there should be more fuel cards in this deck. And for this deck here, which is green, there should be more food cards compared to the other two. So it's not to say that there aren't food cards in the other ones, but there should be more in here. And for the blue, there should be more ammo than all the other ones. So that sort of helps you determine when you're looking for something specific. Let's say you're on the run, you need some food. Ideally, you find a location that has a green area to scavenge so you can get some more food. So once you've done that, you'd shuffle the decks, put them on your scavenge board, and you're basically ready to go. When you take the tiles have several different symbols. So if you come across a tile, it usually has what type of location it is, and that coincides with the layout map tiles that you need. And you'll see that there's sort of a symbol at the top of an enemy with a number. When you're spawning and you will be rolling 2 dice, if the dice result matches this number, you will place a enemy token on this board. You don't draw an enemy card, it's just a token at this location. So if you end up at this location, you'd have to do a stealth test. If you don't pass the stealth test, you'd be drawing a card. And it'll make more sense as I play along. Also, the location typically has some kind of effect. It could either be an effect that takes place as soon as you reveal the tile, which is flip it face up. It could be something when you enter the tile or something when you leave the tile. So there'll be various effects here. And the top left corner indicates the type of scavenge card that you can pull. So in this case, if I were on this gas station, I'm able to scavenge one card from the fuel scavenge deck. So that's just an example. Another example would be some tiles that have nothing. You can't scavenge, but you do have the results for dice rolls, for spawning, as well as the location effects that it may have. So what I've done is I've taken the tiles that are required for this particular scenario, I shuffled them and I laid them out. And my two characters that I'm choosing today are the fireman. The fireman has a few stats. He has his name, he has his health, which is 32, and he has this little sneaker with a number beside it. This is called the stealth test. And the stealth test is if I enter an area that has sort of an alien, a monster token there, I'd be rolling 2 dice, and if the results are equal to or less than this value, then I have successfully snuck by the monster, assuming that I don't already have a monster following me. And again, that'll make more sense as I'm playing it. Also, it's also to note that the number of monsters per location is a maximum of 3. And for every monster that you have at that location, you would subtract from this sneak value or the stealth value. So if I were to enter this location with 1 monster, I'd have to get a 5 or less in order to sneak by. So every character has different stats. So some are better than others. So for example, the hunter has a value or a stealth value of 9, but her health is only 24. So the fireman here also has a special ability or an action that you can take, which is deal 2 damage to a target. And for the hunter, as I shown before, she's got a health of 24 and a stealth test of 9, and she has a recon ability. During this game, I feel that it's very thematic. It does feel like I am trying to survive. My goal here is not to just try to wipe out all the monsters, because I am not that kind of character to do that. But I'm trying my best to find what I need and get out of there. And because it's a post-apocalyptic world, resources are scarce, which means food is scarce, which means you get hungry. So in this game, you will have a dice representing your hunger. And at the end of your turn, you will always increase your hunger by 1. When you reach a hunger of 6, you will flip your character's card over, and they are now hungry. And you will then track their hunger on this hunger track, and you're taking the equal number of damage at the end of your turn. You'll notice that I lose my ability. I'm unable to have that recon ability. And once I get to the final value here, which is the skull symbol, I'm dead. In this game, the moment someone dies, you've lost your mission. So the only way to avoid hunger is to eat food, and every time you eat food, you would dial back your hunger. So it's an interesting mechanic to keep track of, in addition to all the other things you keep track of. But I like it because it's very thematic. You do need to be conscious of finding food, not just what your objective is, but you want to find food too. So the game comes with standees. I'm not using the stands because from the top-down view, all you'll see is this, and it won't be good for you. But the Legendary edition or the Kickstarter edition of this game came with miniatures, and I think they're pretty good. But I could have bought the Legendary box, but I decided just to go with the core base set. So I've got the hunter here, and I've got the fireman here, and they're starting at this shopping mall. And when I reveal it, I get whoever's turn I'm choosing, they get a free scavenge. So we'll show that in just a minute. I'm just going to move this down here a little bit so I got some space. Each character has a deck of cards, and this is specific to them. Usually equipment or abilities that they have to help them fight the monsters. So I have those decks shuffled here. And we also have the zombie deck, which is shuffled and drawn up here. So at the beginning of the game, each player does draw a monster. And for each monster, you'll see they have a name, they have a health, and they have the amount of damage that they do, provided that they're still in front of you. So they would be placed in front of your character. And they're basically zombies that are following you. So here's another one, which is a zombie spitter. Kind of gross, but the artwork is it's palatable. So that's in front of the hunter, and I've got a zombie walker in front of the fireman. Okay. And they'll be starting at this location, and we will start with the hunter. And on your turn, you'll first spawn monsters, then you'll draw a card from your deck, and everyone starts with a hand of 4. So I'll draw 4 for the hunter, 3, 4, and 4 for the fireman. You do get 1 mulligan at the beginning, but it's okay. We'll just play as is. And so on your turn, you'll spawn monsters, then you'll draw a card, then you get to take 4 actions, and those actions could be moving 1 space orthogonally. You could draw another card from your deck. You can play a card from your hand. You can take an action from one of the active cards that you have, or you can do a scavenge. And during your turn, you also get some free actions, which is once per turn, you can discard 2 cards from your hand to draw a card from your deck. You can also trade scavenge cards with another player, provided that they're in the same location as you. And if you need to complete some objective, like dropping off fuel at the van or dropping off something, you can do that for free as well. Then in the 4th step of your turn, you would increase your hunger, and at the end of your turn, you take any damage. And that could be a result of any effects that are taking place, or if there are any monsters in front of you that they would deal you the damage to you. So there's a bit of management. You need to manage your actions, manage the monsters in front of you, and as well as try to complete your objectives. So we'll go ahead and start. There are a bunch of tokens for all the monsters. As you can see, it's my favorite use of these jewelry boxes, as well as ammo and fuel tokens that you may need for certain weapons. I keep them all here. You have damage tokens and poison tokens and objective tokens that come with the game. And I think we're good. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start off with our spawn roll. So we roll a 5, and as of right now, the only tile up is 8. Now I do get a free scavenge, so I'll scavenge from the blue deck, and I get a handgun. So that goes into my hand, and the hunter has a few things here. Pretty good options. So what we're going to do is, as we get to draw a card from our deck, and we get to take 4 actions. So my 4 actions will be, I'm going to equip my crossbow. So you'll see that there's a little symbol at the top here. This is the number of equipment spaces or equipment slots that it takes up. Each character has a maximum of 4 unless some other ability or other card gives them additional slots. So the hunter has 4 slots to carry equipment. This takes up 2. You equip it, and you'll see at the top here, this is the number of ammo tokens that it comes with. And each time you use it, you spend a ammo token. So I'm going to take that. I feel like you could just use dice to keep track of the ammo, but they provide a whole bunch of tokens. They're wooden tokens, so they're actually pretty nice. But managing the tokens left and right can be kind of annoying. So 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. So I got 8 on my crossbow. That's my first action. My second action is I could scavenge, but what we're looking for is fuel. So instead, I'm going to play her Cover of Night. So this, you'll see, has a lightning symbol. The lightning symbol is sort of an instant action. You just discard the card as soon as you play it and do whatever it says. So this one is draw 3 cards from any scavenge deck and discard one of them. So obviously the objective here is to look for fuel. So I'm going to draw from this fuel deck. Oh, perfect. 1, 2, and 3. Oh, exactly what I need. So I definitely want food. And you'll see here, this is an instant action. The moment you play it, you reduce your hunger by 2. And we have a fuel card, which we have to equip right away. So now out of her 4 slots, she has 3 taken up. Okay, and the one we'll discard is the binoculars. So we'll put the discard pile over here, out of the way. Okay, and I'm keeping the food card in my hand. So that was my second action. To equip the fuel is a free action. So I could do one more scavenge. I can move, and I think that's maybe what I want to do. So as my third action, I'm going to move into this location. When I move into this tile, I reveal it, and whatever the effect is, it happens right away. Oh, so it's a hospital. Perfect. So if you enter the hospital, you restore 1 health. She's not hurt right now. I've neglected to deal with this zombie, so I'm going to be in a little trouble here. But let's see what I can do. I probably should have taken that action to do 2 actions. That's okay. So when we're talking about attacking, there is range. Some weapons have short range, mid-range, and long range. Short range is typically any monsters that are in front of you and in your tile. So for example, if the fireman was in the same location as the hunter, her monster is in front of her and in her same tile, and so is the zombie walker. So if I have a weapon that is mid-range or short range, I can actually attack either one of these. The other one is long range, where it's any tile except your own that you can target. So you can't target the monster that's in front of you, but in this situation, I would be able to help the fireman and target his zombie that's following him. And in the turn reference card, it sort of gives you that explanation in terms of how the ranges work. Okay, so I moved over. That was my third action. And as my fourth action, I'm going to spend 1 ammo token to do a mid-range attack and deal 3 damage to a target. And that would mean this zombie spitter takes 3. Damage is tracked by tokens, and I hate that. So it just gets, you spend more time making change than for damage tokens than anything else. That's one gripe I have about this game. And as a free action, I can spend another ammo to attack an additional target. So because it's mid-range, I'm able to attack this zombie walker that is following the fireman. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and he will take 3 damage out of his 4. Okay, so that was 3, 4. That was my fourth action. So I'm done. Now I increase my hunger. So I'm going to take my die and increase the hunger to 2. And now I take damage. Now damage will be 2 damage from the zombie spitter. So I take 2 damage and I mark that on my hunter. And that ends my turn. The end effect here, it says restore 2 health. So I'm not sure which takes precedence. I think I've ended my turn. I would restore 2 health, but then I take 2 damage because of the zombie spitter. I'm going to play it like that. It could be I take the 2 damage, but then I restore 2 health, but I feel like, no, I don't think that's how it would work. So that ends my turn, and the next thing will be the fireman, and we will roll. We roll a 6, so there's no 6 on the tiles that are face up, so no zombies spawn. Oh, actually, sorry, there's one in the van. I didn't see the van. So we're going to take a monster token, and we'll put one on the van. When there are monster tokens at a location, you cannot attack them. You can only attack the ones that have actually exposed themselves or out in front of you or with your character. So we're going to draw a card from the fireman deck, and we're going to see what we can do. We got Trusty Axe, Flare, which is actually pretty good. And we could do that. Let's do that. Let's help him out. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to equip the Trusty Axe. Okay. And it's a short range, which means that he can only attack what's in front of him. As a second action, we can... we're going to use a flare. So it's an instant action. It's long range. All monsters in range are attracted to you. So when I play that, this monster is now following the fireman. He wants to help out the hunter. And his last two actions will be to use his trusty axe, which is deal 4 damage to a target. So I'll do it twice because I have 2 actions left. So I'll attack this one for 4, which makes it 7. So the zombie spitter is dead. And I think I forgot to do something because when the zombie spitter attacked, it says deal damage to all players in range, and she's mid-range. So my mistake, the fireman actually takes 2. So the zombie spitter will be dead, and he'll do his other attack on the zombie walker, who will also be dead. So we mitigated those 2. End of turn, we increase hunger to 2, and that's it. So now it's back to the hunter's turn, and she is going to roll. We get 8. So because we rolled an 8, the shopping mall has 8, which means the fireman draws a zombie, and it's a zombie spitter. But fortunately, it's not his turn, so it should be okay. We draw a card for the hunter, and now 4 actions. All right, so let's do a scavenge. So my first action, I'm going to do scavenge from here. It's ammunition. In terms of your hand size, I forgot to mention, it's a maximum of 10. The moment you go over 10, you have to discard. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I will I think I'll hold on to that. I'm going to use her ability, which is Recon, which is reveal 2 adjacent map tiles without using or triggering their effects. So I'm going to reveal these 2 adjacent tiles. Diagonal tiles are not considered adjacent. So I reveal it, and it's 2 farms, and I would have had a free scavenge. That's okay. I'm okay with that. So that was her second action. And as my third action, I will move to the farm here, and that's it. And then my fourth action, I'm going to scavenge from here. Ah, perfect. It's fuel. So right away I equip. So now she has a full complement in her equipment slot. She can't take anything else or equip anything else. So that ends the turn. We're going to increase her hunger to 3. And she takes damage. There's no zombies in front of her, so she doesn't take damage. Now it's the fireman's turn. He's going to roll. We get 8. Lucky me. So he draws another, and he's got 2 zombie spitters. Oh, this is fantastic. He's going to draw a card. And let's see what we can do here. We already have the trusty axe. So what I'm going to do is once per turn, I'm going to discard the trusty axe and the ladder because I don't really need it to draw another card from my deck. And I have a wildland jacket, nothing I can use. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and do all 4 actions. I'm going to do an attack. So first I'm going to use my trusty axe to deal 4 damage to this zombie spitter. And then I'm going to do it again with my short range punch. And that takes out the zombie spitter. And I'm going to do the exact same thing to the zombie spitter because that's 4 actions in total. And I'm cleared those out. I increase my hunger. And that is it. I don't take any damage because I've eliminated those zombie threats. So now it is the hunter's turn. She rolls a 7. There are no 7s. And I've found, from what I understand, there's very few, if any. I don't think there's any tiles that actually have 7. So, okay, so she draws a card. And let's see. Oh, we have headshot. So we're going to drop the motorcycle and the bear trap as a free action. We're going to discard that to draw 1 more from my deck. And I have resourceful, selecting a gear from a discard pile and put it directly into play. Don't need that. Headshot's kind of nice, but it's only for long range. So let's do a scavenge. First action, scavenge. and it's food. Second action, I could scavenge again, but I think I'm going to move here. Okay, so when you enter here, you have to do a test, and this is what's considered a stealth test. So if you have a successful stealth test, you move to the tile because it's a river, and if not, you go to the previous tile. So that was my second action. I feel like I need a counter sometimes to keep track of the actions I do because sometimes I do forget. Okay, so I have to do a test. My stealth test is 9, so I need 9 or less, and I got 3, which means I am able to go into this river. And as my third action, I'm going to reveal these 2 tiles. We have a city street, which I would have drawn a monster if I entered it, thank goodness, or the bandit camp, which I would have to discard and equip gear or take 5 damage. So that's one of great ability that she has, is she can sort of scout ahead. Yeah, you miss out on the free scavenge reveals, but it definitely would have saved me here. So that's okay. So I definitely don't want to enter this city street, and hopefully we'll see what these ones are doing. So that was my third action. My fourth action, I think, will be to move to this location here. We'll take our chances. We're going to move here. It is an open field. Once we reveal it, we draw a monster. Not good. We draw a monster, and because that was my fourth action, we are also ending my turn, which I draw another monster. So not good. So I got 2 zombie walkers, and that is not good for me. But that's okay. So once we've done that, we increase our hunger. So her hunger is 4. And we're going to take damage, and because each zombie walker is going to hit me, I have a total of 6. So we'll make some change here. So I have 6 damage out of my 24. That ends my turn. So now it is the fireman's turn. We roll for 9, and we have 1 9, which is at the bandit camp, but I highly doubt we'll ever have to go there. And that's it. We draw a card for the fireman. And I think, let's see, I think he's going to do some movement here. We're going to, actually, let's do a scavenge first. We're going to scavenge from this deck, and we get ammunition. Then we're going to move up to 3 spaces. So let's move to here, right? 1, 2, and I get to draw a card. So that was my second action. My third action will be to scavenge from this deck again. Let's scavenge, and it's food. That's my third action, and you know what? While I'm here, my fourth action, I'm going to actually eat food. So I'm going to reduce my hunger by 2, so I'm down to 1. And that ends his turn. We increase his hunger to 2. We take damage. We don't take any damage because there's no monsters in front of him, and that ends the turn. So now it is the hunter's turn, and we roll a 6, which means she pulls another monster, and a monster shows up there, so she's pulling up another monster. This is ugly. Okay, and she draws a card. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. She has a backpack, which gives her +1 equipment slot, but I don't think we want to do that right now. We definitely need to mitigate some of these issues. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a mid-range attack on this guy. So he's going to take 3. I spend another ammo token to do 3 damage to this one. And then that was my first action. My second action is to do it again. So I discard 2 ammo tokens to do 3 damage to the 2 of these zombies, which will effectively take them out. And then all I have left is a zombie dog, so that was my second action. Okay, and I'm going to, as my third action, I'm going to eat food, which reduces my hunger down to 2. And as my fourth action, I'm going to use Snare, which is mid-range, deal 2 damage to a target, and stun that target till the start of your next turn. So I'm going to do 2 damage to the zombie dog, and I'm going to stun him, which means I will not take damage from the zombie dog at the end of my turn. So, ooh, that was not too bad. So we now increase our hunger to 3. We take any damage, we don't, but so what we'll do is we'll unstun the zombie dog, and now it's the fireman's turn. The fireman rolls a 5. There are no 5s on the board, so we're good. We're going to draw a card. And here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's see. He can do some first aid on himself within range. It's short range, so he has to be on the same tile as him. So what we'll do is we're going to scavenge first. That's my first action. It's food. We will scavenge again as my second action. And we have a flashlight. I like this one. So I'm going to equip, as my third action, I'm going to equip the flashlight, which allows me to be, it's a passive ability, which is whenever you take a scavenge action, you draw 2 cards, you keep 1 and put the other at the bottom of the deck. So I'm going to do 1 more scavenge as my fourth action, and I draw 2 cards from this pile. And 1 is empty-handed, and the other is food. I get to keep 1, so I drop the empty-handed, and I take the food. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. And that ends the fireman's turn. He is going to increase his hunger to 3. And he doesn't take any damage because no one's in front of him. So it is the hunter's turn. The hunter rolls a 7. Whew, no 7s. Draws a card. And let's see here. We got to try to get to the van. But I don't want to go this way because I don't want to draw another monster. So I think we will, let's take care of this zombie dog first. So my first action is to kill the zombie dog. The zombie dog is gone. Second action, we need to move. So we're going to move back into the river. I don't even know why I went down here, but we have to do our test. I rolled a 4, which is less than my stealth. So I get to stay here. As my third action, I get to move again. And as my fourth action, I'm going to draw from this pile. And I have a fuel can, but the problem is I can't carry it because I'm here. But as a free action, I can trade scavenge cards with another player. So I'll give this scavenge card. I don't know if this is legal. Maybe someone can comment. So I'm going to give this scavenge card and trade it with the food. And that means he equips this one. 2, 3, 4. So he can do that. I don't know if that's legal. Someone comment, let me know. Because as far as I'm concerned, I can do that. It's a free action. I mean, technically what I could do is I could discard my crossbow and I would carry all 3 jugs of fuel. But let's just play benefit of the doubt here and say that since we're on the same tile as him, we could do that action. So that was my fourth action. We now have 3 cans of fuel, which is really good. And we need to make our way over to the van. So she's going to increase her hunger to 4. And she takes no damage because no zombies, and it is now the fireman's turn. Oops. So we rolled an 8. So we have an 8 here, an 8 here. So you can see as you're doing the spawn monster rolls, if you are getting not the greatest rolls, you're going to end up with a lot of monsters at these locations. And they can build up very quickly. I think one rule in the game is that you can go past the 3 monster limit per tile, and that would definitely up the challenge. The other thing I should mention too, I am playing a 2-player game. The rulebook does say that instead of playing 2 separate hands, you could combine it into one hand of 8 cards instead of 4 for your starting with a maximum of 20. I tried that once, didn't like it. I feel this way keeps it more compartmentalized in terms of the gameplay. So that ends the hunter's turn. Fireman rolled. No one's. We did the spawn, so he draws his card, and now we're gonna try to do another scavenge here. So let's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're gonna. My first action, I'm gonna do first aid kit, short range, restore 4 health to any player in range, which would be her. So I restore 4 health out of her 6, so she just has 2 now. That was my first action. My second action will be scavenge. Because I have the flashlight, I draw 2, and I keep 1. And I don't think there's any more fuel in there. I'm not sure. We'll have to double check, but we'll find out. So I have spare parts and food. Retrieve a card from your discard pile. Well, that's actually not too bad. Do I have any food right now? I do have food, and it's 3, so that's all right. So I will keep the spare parts. I will discard the food. And that was my second action. And my third action, I think I'll do it one more time, and then we'll empty that out. So I'm going to do a scavenge. I draw 2. So we know, and I'll keep the food. I'll drop the ammunition because he doesn't even have a gun. Okay, so that was my third action, and my fourth action will be to move in here as my fourth action. And when I end my turn there, I restore 2 health, so I heal 2. We increase our hunger to 4. And take no damage because I have no zombies in front of me. And now it's the hunter's turn, who's going to roll. She rolls a 9. And we do have a 9, Bandit Camp. And that's it. She draws a card. I think we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I'm going to drop this card. And I'm going to drop the bow to draw 1 from her hand. It's a machete. Oh, not bad. I think as my first action, I'm going to equip my backpack. That gives me 1 extra slot. That's my first action. Second action, we don't need to scavenge at the green because it's not there anymore. I think we're going to try to go into this location. So we will do 1. When we enter here, we restore 1 health. And 2. And then my third action will be to go here. We reveal it. Oh, it's a free scavenge from the fuel deck. It's spare parts. And as my fourth action, I'm going to eat some food. So I'm going to discard this to reduce my hunger down to 2. That ends my turn. We increase hunger to 3. We don't take any damage because we have no zombies, and it is the fireman's turn. And he rolls a 5. Oh, lucky me. So she draws a monster card because she's in the location with a 5, and we don't have any 5 anywhere else. We draw a card for the fireman. And let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so first order of business, let us... Oh, he's 12. Wow. Okay. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to try to help her out. So I'm going to eat food first. My first action, I'm eating food. So I'm down to 1 on my hunger level. I'm going to use my flare, which is long range. She is within range. This is my second action, and I am going to get this zombie stalker towards me. As my third action, I'm going to go ahead and deal 4 damage to him out of his 12. And then as my fourth action, I'm going to use Fire Extinguisher, which is short range. Stun all monsters in range until the start of your next turn. So this one is stunned. Okay, so we're going to increase my hunger. And we don't take any damage because this zombie is stunned, but we will unstun him for the next round. And that's it. Now it is the hunter's turn. She pulls an 8. So the 8 is at the shopping mall, and the 8 is at the city street. Oops, wrong token. City street. And she draws a card. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we're going to exchange the crossbow and the handgun. I think we can discard these 2 cards to draw 1 from her deck. We don't need those ones. We have another machete, which is, we'll discard the 2 machetes next time. Okay, let's go with first action. Let's do a scavenge in the fuel. We get food. Second action, let's reveal these tiles. There's the police station. There we go. That's my second action. Third action, let's move into the police station. And I think we'll be okay. Fourth action, let's go ahead and draw from here. Oh yeah, we got the fuel. Perfect. So the fuel card, because I have the backpack equipped, I get to have 5 slots. So 2, 3, 4, 5, which means I can carry this fuel. Oh, good timing. Okay, perfect. So we actually have all the fuel that we need. So we have to get to the van. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that was my fourth action, I believe, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. Okay, so that ends her turn. She increases her hunger to 4. Takes no damage because I have no zombies. And now it's the fireman's turn. Fireman rolls up 5. 5, where's the 5? I thought there was a 5 here. Yes, gas station. Gas station is 5. So now the fireman is going to draw a card, and I think the best thing to do, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think the best thing to do right now is to try to take out that zombie stalker. So I have, out of his 12, he is down to 8. So 2 would be good, right? So if I do 2 actions, which is 8 damage, he would be dead. So I do 2 actions, which kills the zombie stalker. Okay. As my third action, is there something here that will help me here? No, I think we're good. Okay, as my third action, I will move here. As my, that's okay. As my fourth action, I'm going to move here too. That's my fourth action, and because a zombie is there, I need to do a stealth test. And because there's 1 zombie in there, instead of a stealth test value of 5 or less, or sorry, 6 or less, it has to be 5 or less. And I get 7. So I failed the stealth test. I was too loud with my clumpy boots, so I draw a zombie card, and it's in front of me. And that was my fourth action. So now I increase my hunger to 3, and I am taking 4 damage from this zombie soldier. And that ends his turn. So we're rolling for the hunter. The hunter rolls a 7. Thank goodness, no 7. She draws a card. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's okay. We're going to do a couple things here. We got headshot. Deal 6 damage to a target if you have the bow or crossbow equipped, and it's long range, which means it can't be in her area or in front of her. It can be, however, what's in front of the fireman. So she's going to discard that for 6 damage on the zombie soldier's 8. So that'll hopefully help out the fireman next round. She'll, let's see. We'll play Survival Instinct as my second action to reduce all players' hunger by 1. So hers is down to 3 and his is down to 2. And now for her last action, or her third action, she's going to move into here. Now, once she moves into the van, she has to do a stealth test. Her stealth test default is 9, but because there's 2 monsters in here, her value is 7. So I need 7 or lower to sneak by these monsters. Oh, and I get a 4. Sweet. So I didn't attract anything. As a free action, I can discard or place or drop off the 3 fuel cards I have beside my van. We need 1 more fuel so we can gas up and get out of there. So I have 1 more action that I can do, and that action will be to eat something. Let's eat some food. So I'm down to 0. So one other comment that I have to note is you have to play a card, or you have to take 4 actions. Sorry, not to play a card. You have to do 4 actions, even if, for example, I already moved to the van, I had 1 action left. Technically, I don't need to do anything, but I have to do something. So that's what I chose to do. So now we would increase our hunger. So we're back to a hunger 1. And we'll take damage with no zombies in front of me. So it is the fireman's turn. The fireman rolls a 5. And the 5 here was at the gas station, which is right in front of the fireman. Lucky me. Okay, well. So right now, if I were to move the fireman into the van, it would attract these 2 monsters, and I would have 4. So I'm going to try to mitigate some of that damage there. So if I move into the shelter, I'm immune to damage when you end your turn here and started your turn somewhere else. So I like that. So what I'm going to do as my first action, first of all, I have to draw a card. Draw a card. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, and I have the fire extinguisher. Even better. Oh, I like that. Okay, so let's go ahead first. We'll do my first action. I'm going to take my trusty axe and give this guy a good heave-ho for 4, and he's done. My second action, I will move into shelter. And my third action, I will do my first aid to heal me 4. And as my fourth action, I'm going to eat some food. So I'm down to 0. No hunger. So now we increase hunger, and we would normally take damage, but because I'm in the shelter, the zombie has followed me, but hasn't followed me inside, so I'm okay. So that's it. That ends his turn. We roll now for the hunter. She rolls a 4. And do we have a 4 out there? We do not have a 4 out there. Okay, perfect. Okay, so we're going to do as my first action, survival instincts reduce all players' hunger by 1, so we are no longer hungry. That's my first action. My second action will be retrieving a card from my discard pile. And I will retrieve, it can be retrieved any card. So I'd like to pull out Headshot. My third action, I'm going to do a Headshot. And I'm going to do 6 damage to that zombie soldier because it's long range and it is in line of sight, I guess. My fourth action, let's see, my fourth action, we'll go ahead and we're going to equip the machete. That's my fourth action. Okay. And also, you can't have 2 of the same equipment equipped, so I can't have 2 machetes or 2 crossbows. It doesn't make any sense anyways. All right, so we now increase our hunger, so we're back to hunger 1. We take damage, we don't take damage. Fireman rolls for a spawn, and it's a 6. So now that that has happened, not only because she's in there, she's going to draw a card, and she immediately alarms these other 2 monsters, so she draws 2 more. So we need the fireman to get in there. I think we could have ended this earlier. I think the fireman could have just went in. So that's okay. So the fireman's going to draw a card. The good news is he doesn't have to do a test now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this is perfect because what we'll do is we're going to go and move 1 into the van. As a free action, I drop off the fuel. And just for the sake of argument, I'm going to use Fire Extinguisher to stun all the monsters in range. It's short range, which means because I'm in the same tile as the hunter, all these monsters get stunned. So I bought us some time, grabbed the keys, fueled up the car or the van, and we stepped on the gas like there was no tomorrow, and we left. Oh, this one's stunned too because I did it. I still have 2 more actions. So technically what I'll do is as a 1 action, I'll kill this one off because it has to be at the end The win condition is at the end of the player's turn, and as my that was 1, 2, and then we'll do 4 damage twice. So we'll do 4 damage here. Actually, let's take out this zombie spitter, and we'll do another 4. So that would take the zombie spitter out. These ones are stunned anyways, so it doesn't matter. Okay, so we increase my hunger. See that 1. We take damage. We don't take any damage because we got rid of all our zombies. We check for win conditions, and we have done the win condition because we got 4 cans of fuel, make our way to the van, hightail it out of there. There you go. So that ends the game. And as you can see, it is a bit of sort of a lot of randomness can happen. Definitely when you're spawning monsters, the draw of your cards from the scavenge deck. And I think one of the challenges with this type of game is when you have 3 scavenge decks, but you only have certain locations that you can scavenge, these fuel cards could be at the bottom of those decks. We don't know. We shuffled them, and they could have ended up at the bottom. So you're literally killing time until you go through those scavenge decks to find what you need. Now, I think to make the game harder, I think there was a comment or a rule that you could only do 1 scavenge per tile that you're on. And that would make it incredibly challenging because that's originally how I was playing. But I feel like to make it more balanced and maybe make the game a little bit more, a little bit easier, is you should be able to use your 4 actions and scavenge as many times as you need. I don't see why you wouldn't be able to. So there you go. That is Maximum Apocalypse. Takes a bit of time to set up, get all the tiles out, shuffle the tiles, get all the scavenge cards based on the mission. Once you get all of them, you shuffle them too, get your character cards, shuffle those too, get out your tokens, get those ready. And as you can see, as you're progressing through the game, it does get kind of tense, especially when you're spawning those rolls. You don't want the monster to show up at the tile that you're at. And as you reveal more tiles and as you're moving about, the likelihood of having more monsters out on the tiles increases with every tile. And then on top of that, you have to manage your hunger. Fortunately, this time, I actually didn't get hungry. I've played before where I'm not paying attention, forget to eat the food, or I don't find food when I need food, and I end up getting very hungry. And I played with the hunter before, and because her health is 24, she dies very quickly when I play with her. So there you go. It's an interesting, fun sort of survival game, very different from some of the other board games I have. And one of the things I do like is that you can design the map however you want. And I think that gives this game a lot of replayability, even though you are essentially doing the same thing every game. Find a location, scavenge, and scavenge, and scavenge until you find what you need, and then get into the van. So if you're not too fond of sort of that same sort of premise for your games, then this might not be for you. But a lot of the other board games, it's always similar. So one more thing I wanted to note, I forgot to mention, was component quality. So the tiles, the location tiles, are actually pretty good. They're really thick board. And so they're good when you're shuffling them. And the scavenge deck board is also of the same sort of quality, which is nice. I think the legendary has more of the legendary version, or the Kickstarter version has a tray, which is a bit better, holds it better. The token component quality for the monsters and for the fuel and ammo, it's all wood. So that's actually really nice. I actually think that's a nice touch to have wood tokens. Damage tokens and poison tokens, they're just regular stamped out chits, a little thinner. Still, for what they are, for what they do, it's pretty good. The player cards, they're not bad. They have a little bit of the texture, the linen texture at the front, but the back is not. It's very very slippery. So especially with your scavenge deck, they can slide a bit. And overall, the thickness, they're a little thinner than I like, but still better than some of the other games I've had. For example, what was the other game that I had? I can't remember now. And it's okay for what it is. So all in all, it's not bad. The storage for all of the components, it's a little challenging, but I've managed to get everything to fit in, especially now that I have these sort of jewelry box that I use for practically every single board game that I have. Very useful, very handy, and very helpful to keep things organized. So there you go. That is Maximum Apocalypse. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And until next time, stay bored.